Pakistan Kashmir के साथ खड़ा रहेगा.
Türkiye olarak Keşmir sorununun diyalog yoluyla Birleşmiş Milletler kararları temelinde
we reject totally this whole thing about real estate of Gaza.
कश्मीर की आज़ादी के लिए बहुत बड़ी स्ट्रैटेजी बनाई जा रही है.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, आप रूबरू प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं और मैं हूं आपका मेज़बान शौकत पराचा. यकीनन उम्मा इस वक्त बड़े मसाइल का शिकार है. मुसलमान दुनिया भर में हैं लेकिन बहुत ही मुश्किल हालात में हैं, और जिनके हालात मुश्किल नहीं हैं वो अपने तईं बड़ी कोशिश करते हैं कि मुश्किलात में गिरे मुसलमानों की मदद की जाए, वो चाहे माली हो, वो सियासी हो, वो सफारती हो, वो सियासी हो. इत्तेहाद भी ज़रा मसला है मुस्लिम उम्मा का, और ख़ास तौर पर नई सदी के बाद तो मुसलमान मुसीबतों में घिरे हुए हैं. हम गज़ा में भी देख रहे हैं क्या सूरत हाल है. कश्मीर का मसला मसलसल पेंडिंग है. 77 साल हो गए. कश्मीरी अवाम अपनी उमंगों की तर्जमानी तो कर रहे हैं लेकिन उनकी उमंगों के मुताबिक मसला कश्मीर का हल नहीं निकल रहा. आज एक बहुत ही अहम मेहमान हमारे रूबरू हैं. ये मलेशिया की इस्लामी मुशावरती कौंसिल के सरबराह हैं, मोहम्मद आज़मी अल हामिद साहब. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You are welcome to Pakistan, and thank you for coming to our studio. When you are in Pakistan, you are our brother, we are your brother. But being in Pakistan gives you what kind of feeling?
You see, when Pakistan was formed,
Yeah.
way back 1947,
Yeah.
you know, the inspiration was very high. I was a kid that time, you know. I was really following it. I don't know. I don't understand, you know, the deep political side.
So people in Malaysia or in that region knew that a country is born in 1947,
Exactly.
and that is Pakistan.
That's right.
So great.
And the movement, the whole episode of people, you know, going to Pakistan. Problems are there. The whole history is, I think you know better than me about, you know, what happened until today. But the expectation is still there.
Yeah.
We are
The
still
hopes
saying,
are here.
You are the second largest Muslim country in the world after Indonesia.
Yes.
So being a status of country like that with huge human resource, and then you have
human resource, natural resource,
exactly,
huge potential.
Exactly. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, every time I go to Pakistan, people are having, you know, they are very envious about the. Why you don't tell me? Well, I want to go together with you. You know, Pakistan is one of the destination.
I see.
So I think to answer your question, yes, to me, Pakistan. Now I always tell people, Pakistan is part of me. Pakistan is in my blood. Whatever happened to Pakistan, we always pray that Pakistan will be strong, and we should always try to forge the relationship so that we have this strength of the Ummah demonstrated by these two countries. Malaysia is a small country. It's not, you know, we can't do much, but the spirit of togetherness is there. Pakistan will always be our, you know, very close brotherhood of the Muslim.
And similar is goodwill about Malaysia and Pakistan. When Malaysia is talked about in Pakistan, I honestly never heard anything negative about Malaysia. Malaysia is very proudly, we call it or we associate it as the Muslim country, but there are other minorities even in Malaysia. Your religion is Islam, official religion is Islam. So how is this coexistence of different religions in Malaysia?
Yeah, it's very unique. I mean, we are now 67 years of independence. They were, you know, in let me go back to the history. We were colonized for 446 years by 4 powers. We have the Portuguese, and then came the Dutch, and then came the British, and then came the Japanese, and then came the communists, and then we back with the British. So 446 years. Why do I quote this? It's because the process of decolonization has impacted us a lot because we were polarized when the colonization brought in the Indians from the Indian country to work, and then the Chinese came also. When we fought for independence, the British gave us a condition that you have to, those who were born after the independence, which is 1957, they have to be automatically accepted as a citizens. Because that was a condition. So I think with the wisdom of the Malaysian leaders that time, they said, okay, let's discuss. And we came up with what we call the power sharing. But when we develop with the sharing power, you know, there are problems, of course. It's not everything is smooth. But we sailed in a very smooth way that, you know, we had the education, we gave everybody the right for education. They even have a Chinese school, they have got a Tamil school. We tolerated it in that sense. And then there was this experience of, there was an economic fallout that time, and we saw that the original people of Malaysia, the Malays, were backward. So we decided on what we call the economic policy that give some quotas for the Malays ethnic. Let me just cut short this story. So as we evolved from an agriculture country and then a manufacturing country and a trading country, the wealth of the country was in a way fairly shared by all. There are some questions not really resolved.
How Malaysia became so rich?
Well, we were not rich in that sense, but resources are there.
Yes.
And then we'd really go for the human development. You know, make sure that everybody. So
the first step was to enrich your human resource.
Exactly, that was the focus. You know, so as agriculture to manufacturing and manufacturing now trading, we upgraded the quality of the human resource. The basic question to ask, how do we become like this? You know, that you say there's little.
That is the question.
Well, you know, there's so many key words in the Malaysian development. We are a multi-religious country. We are a multi-racial country. The makeup is almost 69% are Muslims. And then we have like 20% Buddhists, and then we have Christians, we have Hindus. The policy was in a way, there's many, of course, the implementation was not fully smooth, but it was a policy that I think was for the betterment of Malaysia. So every race felt comfortable that they are not denied.
Again, that's a coexistence.
Yeah.
But unity in the Muslim world has been a problem. For example, I gave you an example. Pakistan and Afghanistan share borders. But the terrorists based in Afghanistan, they have safe haven there. They have sanctuaries there. They have the protection over there. They come, they target Pakistani soldiers, Pakistani security forces, Pakistani citizens, and go back in the same safe havens. How Pakistan can solve this problem? How largely this problem can be removed?
Our methodology in Malaysia, we have this problem, the border with Thailand. So there's so-called separatist group. They also have sanctuaries in Malaysia. So Thailand is always saying, look, you know, we cannot tolerate it, and we're trying to deal it. So when I'm part of that negotiation for peace, I came up with this, let's develop what we call the border economy. So you have Pakistan, Afghanistan. Try to see the potentials of the border areas.
I see.
So that, you know, the people will then resist this kind of group.
I see.
It's not only Pakistan as a government has to do it, but it's also at the population level. So if that formula that we're doing can be replicated, try to focus on the socio-economic development at the border.
If a government sitting back in Kabul, if that endorses such attacks and resists any action against them, then how can these border areas development that can solve the problem?
Yeah, that is right. We really have to engage with Kabul. Now, I think Kabul is in quite a very difficult situation now, while they are trying to, make developments of their own with their own system, having their own policy the way they think, which Malaysia is engaging with them.
Yeah.
So I think we are trying to make them more rational. Look, you cannot go far if you have this kind of thing. So we are engaging with Kabul, and we'll try to also tell them, you have to be a strong neighbor with Pakistan.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
you allow this,
responsible
then
neighbor.
you can't move. And my personal engagement with Kabul through their embassy in Kuala Lumpur, he seems to be very rational. He says, yes, there's a problem there. So I think the discussion, the engagement, the negotiation has to go on, while also, as I said, try to see whether we can go through this process of development at the border area. Yeah.
Very right, sir. Very nice idea. It's a Islamic brotherhood that whenever there is we have to take a position in the world about the issues that we confront in the world. Kashmir has been bleeding since 77 years, and the people of Kashmir, they have been pleading, and they want their promises fulfilled with them. So how Your Excellency looks toward their problem, then how Malaysia feels about their problems?
Kashmir is a home word or house words of Malaysians, especially Kashmir has been one of the most beautiful places in the world. So it's not alien for Malaysians to know about Kashmir.
नादरीन ब्रेक लेते हैं, ब्रेक के बाद जब वापस आएंगे, मुसलमानों की बात हो रही है, गज़ा में, फ़लस्तीन में बड़े मज़ालिम हैं, मैं उस पर बात करना चाह रहा हूँ, लेकिन एक छोटी सी ब्रेक के बाद स्टे विद अस। वेलकम बैक नादरीन, आप रूबरू प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं। मलेशिया से आए हुए एक स्कॉलर हैं जो कि मलेशिया की इस्लामी मशावरती कौंसिल के सरबराह हैं, मोहम्मद आज़मी अल हामिद साहब हमारे रूबरू हैं आज। We were talking about the problems of Muslim. We were talking about problems of Pakistanis from Afghanistan. But, this problems of Muslimhood, if that's expanded, the Muslim states usually do not patronize violence or extremism or terrorism against any other segment of society, anywhere. But you have seen, in most of the cases, the Muslim population, they are subject to state violence, state-backed violence. What's happened in Gaza, that's an eye-opener. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, this is a problem. I mean, on the outside, no country, especially Muslim, would condone violence, terrorism, extremism. Islam does not teach us that way of thinking and action. And therefore, I think not only Pakistan have to deal with it, because you have a situation where, any Muslim countries that seems to have a determination to improve and develop themselves and does not go in line with the expectation or with the interest of the superpowers, let's say,
But no, superpower is insisting, President Trump is insisting that people of Gaza should be placed in Egypt or Jordan, or they are talking against even Saudi Arabia. How people of Gaza, the plight of Gazans, Palestinians, very close to our hearts, hurt all of us, you see. It hurts all of us, you see.
Definitely. So the idea of, a country having a strong self-determination of their own to decide the economic system, the political system, their governance. Any country that they seem to be able to to stand on their own, to say no to superpowers, to go against the superpowers, they will then do all these kind of things, even to fund the extremists, even to create this. We have the ISIS, we have the Daesh, And all we know is that they are funded, they are supported by them to destabilize the Muslim countries everywhere. They would not allow, they do not allow any Muslim countries to be strong. It's either they have a force outside to come, or they start doing, the planning within that country. And this is what we are facing now. So Pakistan should realize this, How do you deal with our population and not be infiltrated with these people who are having, support from outside? So Afghanistan have to understand that. They won't allow Afghanistan to be stable. So they create this extremist group. You have another extremist group also from Pakistan, funded by them, by the West, and then, these countries will have to deal with these extremists within their own country. So I think we have to be very cautious about this. Malaysia, we used to have, the communists was what we call the underground movement, We had to deal with them. Finally, in 1956, we decided to have this dialogue with them so that this radical group can be dealt with. I think that should be the theory or the method of de-radicalizing our own people, because they are very easily, with all the technologies we have now, influenced by all these messages, from their WhatsApp and all that. So I think as a policy matter, I think number one is to go to the root cause of this. Try to understand who created this, why this kind of thinking is happening. We have to deal with that. And number two is to have more, trying to see our own people to understand that Islam rejects this kind of thing, We have been telling.
But when something is imposed upon Muslim populations in the world, I'm putting the example of Gaza. Gaza is, the land of Gaza is the land of people over there. Palestine is of Palestinians. Others came, they are the occupying forces. But even the two-state theory of Palestine or the Middle East, that's not being accepted by Israel now. I'm trying to get your opinion or the feeling of people in Malaysia, how this Gaza crisis will be solved.
Well, I think, with how the things are developing now, it's very, very clear that Israel, since the Oslo Accord, has already, they were playing time. So Yasser Arafat thought, Israel was honest. So but it turns out that Israel themselves do not want this so-called two-state solution. So we in Malaysia knows that the only way to resolve this is to recognize the Palestinian statehood. As number one. Right. Number two is, dismantling this occupation. How can we do that? Because Israel's existence is purely supported, and because they are strong, because they are supported by the United States, especially the United States, other than is the UK and the rest. So we have to deal with the superpowers, that Israel will be a real burden on you. They are supplying arms. The whole tax money of the Americans are going there unnecessarily, and they're going to suffer. So I think the Malaysian feeling is that, number one, the Ummah has to really be united. But
that's the bottom line.
It's just a bottom line.
Exactly.
Unless we do that, because we know that Israel knows about the division within the Muslim countries, that they cannot get things together. Maybe rhetorics. They say, okay, we reject this thing, or we protest against what's happening in Gaza. But to act, when it comes to action, real action, for instance, Malaysia, we propose to expel Israel from the United Nations. It's a very strong suggestion. Nobody suggests that. Anwar Ibrahim told that in the meeting. But they didn't agree. So that's the problem with the Muslim. When it comes to action, there we are. We can't resolve this.
How Malaysian government or the people of Malaysia or enlightened people like yourself think about President Trump's policies toward this region?
You know, he sees everything as a real estate. He sees everything as a, you know,
Property.
as a property, as a business,
property
everything. You know,
developer.
You now know Trump. You know, he's not only he is predictable in actual fact. You know, people say we don't know. Biden, you know, he looks soft, but he's more predictable. But this Trump is much more predictable because anything that you deal with him, he has to look in dollars and cents. So he's coming with this crazy idea. He says, I want to take over Gaza. You know, we develop and then we get companies to come, and there you are. We don't allow the Gaza people to come back, right of return. They have to go out. So this is, you know, it is atrocious. It is, you know, it is against international law. And therefore, the Malaysian people, we are going to have our demonstration this coming up Friday. And I launch, and probably I take this opportunity, I've already launched a global action for a World Day of Action on Gaza on the 2nd of March. I want all the cities of the world to express, whether you go to the street or you express in any way, say that we cannot accept this, and the theme is Gaza is not for sale. Gaza is not for sale, because this is what Trump is trying to say. I'll just take over and make money from Gaza.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
नाज़रीन, मोहम्मद आज़मी अब्दुल हामिद, मलेशिया के स्कॉलर जो पाकिस्तान तशरीफ़ लाए हुए थे. वेलकम बैक नाज़रीन, आप रूबरू प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं. पाकिस्तान और यूरोपियन यूनियन एक स्ट्रॉन्ग बॉन्ड रखते हैं. शुरू से ही, जब से पाकिस्तान आज़ाद हुआ, यूरोपीय ममालिक के साथ पाकिस्तान के बहुत अच्छे ताल्लुकात हैं. अभी तो PIA भी रिज्यूम हो गई. अभी तो यूरोपियन यूनियन और पाकिस्तान के दरमियान GSP प्रोग्राम भी चल रहा है. इस सारी सूरत हाल पर बात करने के लिए इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में तैनात यूरोपियन यूनियन की एम्बेसडर हर एक्सेलेंसी डॉक्टर रीना क्विनका साहिबा हमारे रूबरू हैं. Thank you very much, Excellency. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about Pak-EU relations. PIA has recently been allowed to resume its flights to various European destinations. Yes. How do you feel that this resumption will further enhance people-to-people contact between Pakistan and Europe?
Yeah, I think it's really important that PIA has gotten to this point, and it's due to, you know, the very hard work that the Pakistan Civil Aviation Agency has been doing in the last 4 years. We haven't been able to, PIA hasn't been able to fly for 4 years, and now it can again. A direct flight makes a huge difference in whether people can get easily to Europe or not, and back the other way as well.
Yeah. You're talking about people get easy way to go to Europe. We have seen very sad incidents in Morocco and Libya. Many Pakistanis, they died because they were traveling illegally to Europe. So the government of Pakistan is taking action, very strong and firm action against the illegal human trafficking. Are there any actions from the EU side to curb this menace of human trafficking, illegal trafficking?
Yeah, I agree with it, that it's a menace. I agree with your wording. This is a very dangerous thing, and we don't want to see that happen, not on the Pakistan side, not on the EU side. So there is a policy dialogue between the EU and Pakistan, but there's also concrete work, concrete cooperation between the FIA and the authorities in our member states, and as well as at the center in the EU. And a lot of the work is about preventing migration, illegal, irregular migration of this sort, to prevent human smuggling and human trafficking, to make people aware of what a fake job advertisement looks like, what a fake recruiting agency looks like, and those are the sorts of things that can really help.
I termed it menace because I saw many young people, many young boys died in pursuit of illegally traveling to Europe, and I'm happy that there is a realization back in Europe to curb this illegal human trafficking, and Madam, you have also seen even Director General of FIA was removed because of the recent sad incidents. But Europe has been very sensitive about war in Ukraine.
But let me first, before we move on from migration, if I can add as well that there's another side of the equation, and that is legal migration. Okay. And we are working on paths for increasing legal migration to Europe, so that young Pakistanis who have skills, who want to work in Europe for a while, go there for a while, then they come back. And that's something that's new, it's something that's of great interest to the Pakistan authorities, and we're working on it.
That's great, that instead of illegal trafficking, there is a way, there is a room for legal migration of people, you know, in different categories. But I was talking of Europe has been very sensitive and duly sensitive about the war in Ukraine. Now President Trump is making an effort, whatever is going on the European theater or the European Union thinking, can I ask that this war, ending of the war is imminent now, there will be soon, war will be over in Ukraine, because it has directly affected even many lives in Pakistan, the grain prices, the oil prices.
That's right, that's right. It's affecting the whole world, not just Europe, but for us it's an existential question. But nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians do, and certainly the Europeans, and we are very much guided by what Ukraine wants, because what we believe is that there should be a comprehensive, a just, and a lasting peace. And a lasting peace you can only have if the people who are most concerned are behind the table during negotiations. So that means nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
Similar has been a crisis, a grave crisis in Gaza. Now ceasefire is there. Madam, how do you feel about the feeling back in Europe about this ceasefire and possible peace?
We're very supportive of the ceasefire. We've been hoping and working toward a ceasefire as well. And now we see what happens next, where we go forward. But the EU continues to support a two-state solution. That's the way forward. That's the way it has to be.
It's a great event that you have staged this event. Europe is visible in the stars, in the dresses, etc. And the poster bearing stronger together. So how can EU make Pakistan stronger and vice versa?
Well, I think a lot of this, we touched on that already with migration. We work together to curb something that's a phenomenon that knows no boundaries, like migration. Then there's climate change, then there's, terrorism. There are all kinds of issues that you cannot solve alone, but you can solve together. And so as an EU, we use the motto as well, stronger together. We are stronger together, but with Pakistan, we can move closer to resolving some of these problems if we work together.
Madam, you have spent quite some time in Pakistan and you have seen many developments. How you feel about whatever your stay has been here?
I think I've seen everything here already. I hope I've seen everything. It's a place with a lot of changes, a lot of not always positive changes, and the EU continues, and I personally continue to hope for stability and certainty, and so that Pakistan can get moving on its development goals, so that the lives of everybody can get better.
Recently, the EU representative on human rights, Ambassador Olaf Skog, warned Pakistan on some of the human rights issues. How this warning or this concern is going to affect Pakistan-EU relations?
Well, it was the EUSR, the EU Special Representative for Human Rights, Olaf Skog, was here for several days, 4 days, and he talked to a lot of people, a lot of government officials, high authorities, civil society, journalists, and so forth, to get a good picture of what the situation is. It's no secret to anybody that there are concerns, and those concerns are connected to also the trade concession, the GSP Plus, right. And so even though his mission was not directly related to the GSP Plus monitoring mission, it gave a kind of a context. His point of view or his approach while he was here was to flag certain issues to the authorities to say, look, this is a concern, that's a concern, the third thing is a concern. Please see what you can do before GSP Plus starts, before any assessment of Pakistan's performance. He came as a friend. He came as a friend to give a heads up. If you can do these things, it will be very helpful to Pakistan. So that was the approach.
That's great to hear that he came as a friend. And when in 27 or the post-27 scenario, whether EU is going to further engage with Pakistan for implementation of 27 covenants and conventions of the UN, or EU will take a different direction?
Well, that entirely depends on Pakistan, in fact. It depends less on the EU and more on Pakistan and what it does in the interim. You know that the current regulation comes to an end in 2027, maximum, and a new regulation has to be agreed. And when that is agreed, then Pakistan can reapply. It's not automatic. It's not automatic for Pakistan or any of the other GSP Plus countries. Pakistan will have to reapply and it will have to present a work plan, how it intends to fulfill these things. And so it's really up to Pakistan more than up to the European Union.
So what is the way forward on the GSP Plus continuation after 2027, even if Pakistan applies for that?
Well, then it's up to the European Parliament and the member states whether they think that Pakistan's performance against these 27 conventions is sufficient, and whether the work plan is realistic and attainable, and a serious work plan. So really, it's in Pakistan's hands.
Thank you so much, Baran.
Thank you.
Excellency Dr. Reena Cuenca, Ambassador of European Union, नाज़रीन हमारे रूबरू थी. बड़ी अच्छी उन्होंने बात की कि जो स्पेशल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव फॉर ह्यूमन राइट्स आए थे, एम्बेसडर उलोफ स्कूब, वो एक पाकिस्तान के दोस्त की हैसियत से आए थे. अखबारात में कुछ ऐसी खबरें लगी, मैंने इसलिए ज़रूरी समझा ये सवाल उनसे पूछना. अपने मेज़बान शौकत पराचा को इजाज़त दीजिए. खुदा हाफ़िज़.